Welcome to the PVW Law Video Library. In this video, we will be discussing the purchase of real property. Whether you are purchasing agricultural land for a farming operation, a commercial property for development or investment, or a new personal residence, the purchase of real estate is a significant decision with many legal implications that must be considered. It is often stated that the three most important considerations in the purchase of real estate are location, location, and location. As part of the decision on where to purchase real estate, consider the zoning and use restrictions for a piece of property. For example, if you are looking for property to operate an industrial warehouse, the property must be zoned for such use by the local zoning board or other regulator. Although zoning restrictions can be modified, seeking modifications will sometimes add significant cost to the purchase of real estate. There is no assurance that the change in zoning and use restrictions will be allowed. If possible, purchase property located in an area zoned for your intended use. Once you have located the property you want to purchase, you will extend an offer to the seller. The offer will typically include purchase price, method of payment, and any conditions to closing on the property. For example, many buyers specify that they must be able to obtain financing of a certain type at a certain interest rate. You might make an offer with or without the assistance of a real estate agent. Even if you have a real estate agent involved, you should consider having an attorney review the purchase agreement before you sign on the dotted line. Some agents use standard forms that do not address all possible buyer issues. For example, most standard purchase agreements do not allow the buyer to assign the agreement to an entity owned by the buyer. Failing to include all such provisions can slow down or terminate the purchase process. An important consideration for the purchase of real estate is the environmental condition of the property. Environmental condition is often overlooked by buyers. Both federal and state law creates liability for a property owner for contamination on the property. For example, if you purchase a parcel of real property that was formerly used for industrial purposes that resulted in contamination, you may be held responsible for the cost of cleaning up the property. In order to avoid potential liability for environmental conditions, a buyer should examine property prior to purchase. The purchase agreement will often provide you a reasonable period of time to examine the property and complete due diligence prior to closing on the purchase. If there is any indication that the property was contaminated by a prior owner, you should consult a real estate attorney experienced with real estate purchases to advise you as to how to qualify as an innocent purchaser of the property. A purchaser of property will want to be sure that the seller of the property has good title to the property. In simple terms, a purchaser wants to know that the seller actually owns the property and that there aren't any others who claim an interest in the property. Property ownership is transferred with a document called a deed. A deed cannot transfer to a purchaser anything more than the seller owns. In order to be sure that a purchaser is acquiring an entire interest in property, the purchaser should obtain title insurance or have a title opinion prepared for the property. Title insurance involves a review of the title history for the property. The title company will review all transfers of or rights granted in the property to determine if any other parties have a right to the property. The title review will often disclose utility easements and other minor title defects that often do not hinder the purchaser's ability to use the property as intended. The title review may disclose significant defects. After review of title and resolution of any issues, the title insurer will issue a title policy insuring the property. If it is later determined that some unspecified party has an interest in the property that was not disclosed by the title insurer, the title insurer will be liable for the damage incurred due to the undisclosed title defect. In some states, a title opinion is used as an alternate or in addition to title insurance. While due diligence is in process, the purchaser will be seeking financing. Options include paying cash, financing the purchase with the seller, or financing through a bank or other lending institution. If financing through a lender is involved, additional steps will be required by the lender. Such additional steps will include executing a promissory note and a mortgage or deed of trust to secure repayment of the debt. Upon default on the indebtedness, The mortgage or deed of trust will allow the seller to retake possession of the property. If you would like to consult with one of our real estate attorneys to assist you with purchasing real estate, please email us from the Contact Us tab on our website at pvwlaw.com.